What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
If you didn't already know, the Netflix original series Bridgerton isn't just an original work of art that was dreamed up by Netflix. Rather, it was a popular book series that has been around for many years. The books were super popular, but now that Netflix has adapted them for television, their popularity is greater now than ever before. Though the series has some key differences from the books, mostly revolving around what the characters may have originally looked like. Before we get started, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos.
There will be no need to resume. The Duke and I are to be married.
Daphne Bridgerton. Even if you've only watched about 5 minutes of the show, you already know that Daphne is the main character in Season 1. Daphne is portrayed as being an innocent young girl who has big hopes for her adult life in the big city. With the social season having just arrived, Daphne is ready to take on the world and find herself a man that she can settle down with and start a family. Daphne is a lot different than the other young men and women in the area. Most of these people seem to be marrying for status or for logical reasons, but Daphne allows herself to be more in touch with her emotions, vowing that she only wants to marry a man if she truly loves him. And thankfully, that's where the Duke steps in.
Anywhere in your body, anywhere that gives you pleasure, but especially between your legs.
Though Daphne's character in the books would have been much different than her character in the television series. Even though the Daphne we know and love is a well-to-do girl with astonishing good looks, her character in the book would not have been this way. By all means, the books seem to paint Daphne as more of a friend-zoned girl than anything else. In the television series, it seems pretty clear that Daphne is the talk of the town. Even Lady Whistledown writes about Daphne and how incredible, beautiful, and flawless she is. She even refers to her as a diamond of the first water. Though the books paint a much different picture. In the written series, Daphne struggles to find love because she can't seem to wow any man into marrying her. She befriends several great young men, but all of them having a difficult time seeing her as wife material. This leads Daphne to spend 2 years living life as a single lady, questioning if she will ever find true love. Contrary to this, Daphne as we know her in the television series seems to be bombarded by potential lovers, with several of the men fighting over her. At the start of the first season, we see that every man in town is flocking to her house, hoping to give her flowers and woo her into an unhappy marriage. I have to admit, this made the show much more dramatic and funny, but this isn't how the author intended Daphne's story to play out. We don't know for sure what Daphne would have looked like in the books, but it's safe to say she wouldn't have been the beautiful young woman she appears to be on television. She would have much more likely looked like your average Jane than most people would not have given a second glance. The Duke. One of the biggest differences from the book series is the depiction of the Duke of Hastings. As we all know, the Netflix version of Duke is a beautiful man with razor-sharp muscles that could almost cut down a tree. While the book definitely paints him in a similar light, Netflix seems to have reorchestrated the series a bit and incorporated his race into the plot, making him a black man instead of white. Truth be told, it doesn't make a bit of difference what color he is. A handsome man is handsome no matter what his skin tone may be. However, Netflix was very purposeful with their intentions and they wanted to make sure that the black community felt accepted in the production. This is why, if you take note, several black members of society have higher roles in society than they normally would. Many of the black citizens are dukes, duchesses, lords, or ladies. Interestingly, the race is never mentioned in the books. However, we can assume that the Duke would have been white simply by reading the line about how he had icy blue eyes. Considering it is almost unheard of for a black man to have blue eyes, we can make some safe assumptions here. What is also super interesting is that Queen Charlotte is mixed race. This was a welcome change from the book series. Even though the books never mention her race specifically, most people seem to agree that Queen Charlotte in real life would have been mixed race. It's awesome to see that the Netflix showrunners took note of this and made sure to cast her as accurately as possible. Simon's father. This may be a bit of a stretch because it doesn't necessarily involve the look or appearance of the Duke's father, but it's an important detail that needs to be discussed. We know that Simon was severely abused as a child. For the first part of the series, it seems like Simon has let the abuse get the better of him and turned him into a hardened man who doesn't care about anyone but himself. However, by the end of the season, Simon has truly become a role model for younger viewers and shows just how far a person can come, even if they were completely trash while they were growing up. Simon doesn't let his abusive father dictate who he will become later in life. Rather, he takes the reins and makes his own decisions, allowing himself to give Daphne her first child. This is an important detail to discuss because in the book series, Simon's father is painted as being a cold-hearted, cruel man who didn't even grieve the death of his wife. Instead, he brushed her aside and seemed completely unfazed when she passed away. Personally, this always seemed a bit odd, and that's likely because the books painted a much different picture of Simon's father. In the written series, his father was torn apart by the death of his wife. He spent quite a long time grieving her death. It can also be assumed that his resentment for Simon grew from his hatred of having lost his wife. In many ways, it seems like Simon's father may have blamed Simon for her death, which is why he made the terrible decision to treat his own son like yesterday's garbage. While this may not prove that Simon's father looked any different than he does in the show, it certainly proves that the series isn't as accurate to the books as some viewers may want it to be. The fourth Bridgerton sister. One of the biggest differences between the books and the show is the appearance of the fourth Bridgerton sister, Felicity. In the books, Felicity is portrayed to be an innocent young 10-year-old girl with her whole life in front of her. She seems pretty satisfied with her life and has a very promising future. Much like the rest of the Bridgertons, it seems like she would eventually grow up to be a reasonably attractive young woman. However, the television series shows a much different side of Felicity. That's because, well, it doesn't show her at all. Felicity is mysteriously missing from the entire first season of the show, and we have no idea if she will appear in the second season either. Admittedly, Felicity didn't play much of a role in the first book, but we can't help but wonder why Netflix would have cut her out of the series altogether. The original books tell the story of the entire Bridgerton family. Most of them, anyway. However, it seems like Netflix has shifted its focus to be on the older members of the Daily, leaving the youngest siblings out of the plot entirely. The show gives us a very detailed depiction of Prudence, Philippa, and Penelope. These three are always dressed their best, and even though they may look like polar opposites, they are all sisters and do their best to stick together. Why they turned the Bridgerton sisters into a trio is beyond me, but here's to hoping Felicity will pop up in the series later on in Season 2. Thanks for watching! Be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos.